Come in close and tell me what you see. Ready? One, two. Hey guys, Caleb here from CDBS Studios, and I am a super fan of the Now You See Me franchise. I am the kind of person who loves to go to magic shows and also watch videos about how magic tricks are debunked, and I'm also a sucker for a good heist movie. So the Now You See Me franchise is basically a franchise designed for someone like me, as this whole franchise is literally just a group of magicians who use magic tricks to perform heists. Like, that's like literally the perfect franchise for me. And I just love the Now You See Me franchise. I mean, I do think the second film was a little bit of a downgrade from the first film, but I still love that film with everything I can offer. And it has been almost a decade since Now You See Me 2 came out, and we finally have a Now You See Me trilogy, with the newest installment being Now You See Me, Now You Don't. They finally listened to our criticism of not calling Now You See Me 2 this name. And this movie, for all intents and purposes, lived up to the hype for me. This movie is very much on the same level as the first movie, being very fun and very lighthearted and open, and I had a great time with this movie. So, I'm going to take you through my review on why Now You See Me, Now You Don't is a really good movie and well worth the 10-year break this franchise took. And I'm also going to say straight up, this will be a spoiler review, so there will be some spoilers for the movie itself. So if you don't want to know anything about the plot or characters, then maybe pause this video here, go watch the movie, and then come back. But for all of you that have seen the movie or don't care about spoilers, then I'm going to take you through why Now You See Me, Now You Don't is a worthy finale to the Now You See Me trilogy. So we're going to start this review off with how the characters are handled, and the main pull of this movie, of course, and even the whole Now You See Me franchise in general, is the characters, as the whole premise of the original movie is how you have these four solo magicians who end up getting pulled together to perform this epic heist, and they all kind of have their own problems, having these ego issues and these kind of issues with one another, and it's kind of where the natural charisma of those movies come from. And the whole pull that this movie was going for is that the OG Horsemen are coming back together, as they were able to get Isla Fisher back to do Henley. So we do actually have the original Four Horsemen back together, and seeing the Four Horsemen back together was honestly one of the best parts of this movie. The OG cast is still able to nail the lens of the Now You See Me magicians, where they're just still so petty with one another to where it's fun to see their chemistry, while at the same time being great, likable characters. I'm still a huge fan of Daniel Atlas, love Merritt, love Dave Franco's character, Jack, and of course, I love Isla Fisher being back as Henley. They're still all great characters, and a little bit of spoiler territory, like I already mentioned, they did also bring Lula back, which I was not expecting them to bring her back with them getting Isla Fisher back. And I'm actually surprised to report I actually much prefer Lula in this movie than I did back in Now You See Me 2. For how much I loved that character, Now You See Me 2 does unfortunately have the issue of you go into the movie knowing Lula is mainly there to replace Henley. And the movie, there's no way to escape that within the movie. But in this movie, where you already have Henley in the movie, I liked Lula a lot more because they really delved into this fact that she kind of was almost the fifth horseman. And it really was they had nice chemistry between each other, between her and also Henley, as they kind of have this fun side gag that the two of them became friends off screen in the 10-year gap between the last movie, which I think is just such a fun concept about how the two of them are just so giddy to be with each other. It made me really enjoy the character a lot more. And of course, they used her classic trick of her chopping off her own limbs to a very nice, funny degree in this movie, which I really did enjoy. But something else I really loved about this movie is the new cast. Of course, to expand this world, they ended up adding 3 new magicians to the Four Horsemen, and I actually loved them in many ways more than the original cast in this movie. June, played by Ariana Greenblatt, was actually one of the standouts in this movie for me. She is kind of showcased in this movie to be the more modern iteration of Jack, as she kind of has the sleight of hand tricks, and there's so many really fun tricks that she pulls off where she like moves a like piece of paper or something up in front of a person, and then when they move the paper down, something is missing. Like one of my favorite tricks is she does it to steal a key card out of someone's like lanyard pocket, and it's so seamless to the point where I honestly kept asking, did they do a cut there, or did she actually learn how to do that in the scene itself, which was so great. And then I also love Charlie, who is really fun character. I love his actor. He's been in so many things that I loved, and honestly, he's probably another standout for this movie. I didn't care for Bosco as much, however, but I still thought he was a fun addition to the cast, and I did really enjoy him. And then you also have the villain, who she is not as compelling as the previous two Now You See Me villains, as she is kind of just boiled down to being just a basic military kind of arms dealer character who just sells diamonds and money launders through them. And she's not as compelling as the other villains in the franchise, like Daniel Radcliffe, Michael Caine, or even Morgan Freeman in the first movie. So she's not as compelling as those villains, but she still works for what the movie requires. So I thought she was okay. The only character that I'm a little frustrated with is Morgan Freeman as Arthur Tressler. Sorry, not Tressler, Thaddeus Bradley. Wrong character. Thaddeus Bradley, as they did unfortunately do kind of a thing with this movie where they did prop up that, oh, Morgan Freeman's even going to come back for this movie, but in the movie itself, he's only really in about 10 minutes. He's very underutilized as he's just part of this chateau scene that he has where he kind of introduces the horsemen back to each other and has a little bit to explain kind of some of the magical backstory that plays into this movie. And then the police show up at the chateau and then they shoot him and he dies, which, I mean, I'm a little mad about how they kind of underutilized his character, but I understand Morgan Freeman's getting to that point in his life where he's getting a little bit older, and he's also entering the age where he's probably going to retire from acting soon. So I understand they kind of want to retire him from the Now You See Me franchise, so when they do proceed with the future sequels, they don't have to really make up some on-screen reason eventually why Thaddeus Bradley's not in any more movies. So, little frustrated about that, but other than that, I loved all the characters in this movie so much, and they even fixed some of my issues with some of them, which I great. Their chemistry is still amazing, and honestly, the characters are probably the highlight of this movie for me. They are so fun, and I loved every single one of them. They carry this movie. Now we're going to talk about the story, and I'm going to say straight up, the story is what I've been seeing a lot of people have issues with this movie, but for me personally, I've never gone to the Now You See Me films for story. The Now You See Me franchise as a whole is maybe not the best written when it comes to story, as the whole film revolves around tricks and twists, and it kind of leads to, the story maybe not being the strongest it could be. But at this point in the third Now You See Me film, I don't care if the story is good or not. I care if I have fun with it. And the story in this movie is still pretty fun, as there is still a lot to love. I do really love that this film in particular is more aligned with the first Now You See Me when it comes to pacing. One of the main issues I've always had with Now You See Me 2, as the movie is way slower, where there's only very few tricks. There's a trick at the very beginning of the movie, a trick in the middle of the movie, and then a trick at the very end. While the first Now You See Me plays with this idea that they very rapid-firely jump from trick to trick, and you're kind of never left with any down moments to wonder why we're standing around doing nothing for a while. And this film in particular, the third film, more aligns with that first movie where it feels like every 5 minutes we're having at least some kind of new trick to hook us in the story, and I did really like that as a story. And then you have the ending twist of the movie, which I'm going to reveal. If you don't want spoilers, you might want to click off, is that we find out that Charlie's character is actually the long-lost brother of the villain, and the twist is that he is the one that set up this whole trick to set her off by bringing the horsemen back together. And that's the twist. And that also his two friends, June and Bosco, were actually in on it and helped set it up, which I think might be my favorite twist in the whole franchise. Yes, above the twist that Mark Ruffalo was the setup in the first movie. Because I just think this movie does a lot better of a job getting us to really connect with the rivalry the horsemen build up with the villain. And then the reveal that one of the new kids was actually the setup. was actually a really cool twist for me, and I do think it might be my favorite in the whole franchise. And that might be controversial, but I do think it's better than the twist at the end of the first movie. So, yeah. The story might not be the greatest, but like I mentioned, at this point, as long as I'm having fun with the Now You See Me films, I don't care if the story is lackluster because, like I've said before in previous videos, I go to movies to enjoy my time with them and escape from reality. So if a movie does that for me, the movie did its job, and I don't really care if the story's lackluster. So, yeah, story, all right for what it is. Not the best, but it also is not the absolute worst and does have elements that are some of my favorite in the whole Now You See Me franchise. But of course, the whole hook of the Now You See Me franchise is of course the magic tricks, and this movie is able to keep up with the OG movie about having some great tricks and then also having some real fun debunking the tricks, which is some of the whole fun of it. And I really do love some of the tricks they pull off in this movie. The opening trick where you find out it's a whole Pepper's ghost effect that the three kids set up as kind of a way to lure the four horsemen out of hiding, you learn later, is a really fun, cool trick, and it kind of works in the context of the movie. Like, of course, you know that when they shot the movie, they did actually have the actors there, but having the whole reveal it's Pepper's ghost does actually kind of work, and you could honestly believe it. There's some great tricks where they originally steal the diamond, and you find out the whole twist that they actually switched the case around instead of actually switching out the diamond, which is a really fun idea. And there's even some really other cool, fun tricks that happen throughout the movie. Even the final trick that they break down was probably so fun for me. Like, I honestly didn't even notice that they were not in the actual vault until they revealed it. Like, that I just was totally sucked into the movie. I didn't even realize it. But I think my favorite scenes in the whole movie, the first of which, basically, my favorite scenes in this movie all happen when we're at the chateau. There is one scene that might be my favorite of the whole movie. Is a scene when they're at the chateau where we have where we have all of our magicians basically playing this game of I'll do you one more, where they're basically passing around the diamond while also doing tricks with one another, and it's really funny and really cool to see where they're basically just going like I'll do you one better with every single one of the tricks, and each magician gets a chance to do the thing that they are good at, which I think is a really cool way to establish the characters. And I've actually seen many people on the internet refer to this scene as like the theater equivalent of a rap battle, which is a perfect description of this scene, and I love it for that reason. And then actually right after the scene comes a really cool chase sequence at the chateau where they're basically going through these rooms that are like illusions, where you have one that's like one of those rooms where one side looks bigger than the other. There's one that's like a mirror maze. There's one that's like a room that flips up and down, which literally just reminded me of the hallway fight scene in Inception, which I loved. And those scenes are probably my favorite in the whole movie. They were so fun to watch, as not only is the action there, the tricks are there, but also the humor is just great in this movie. Like, I really laughed a ton at the jokes in this movie. They do recycle a couple jokes from the previous movies, but they do create enough new jokes to where I do still have fun re-laughs on this movie that don't just come from the fact that I know the jokes from the previous movies, which I loved. Overall, I'm pretty happy to say that Now You See Me, Now You Don't is a really, really solid film that, even though it took us about 10 years to get a new Now You See Me, I still love this movie, and I am more than happy to give Now You See Me, Now You Don't 8 out of 10. This movie does have some negatives, but honestly, this movie has enough things to love that it honestly doesn't devalue the positives. Like, I still loved watching this movie, and honestly, after seeing this movie, I'm now more excited for Now You See Me 4, which when I first heard they were making a Now You See Me 4, I was not invested in it at all. Like, I was like, just make a Now You See Me trilogy and move on. But after seeing this movie, and they do have a little bit of an ending sequence that sets out that there's going to be more Now You See Me, I'm just more excited to see more of these characters. Because, of course, I love the Four Horsemen, but they made me love Lula again, which I did not think they were going to be able to do. I loved the new characters, so I'm happy to see more of them. And based on that ending sequence, we might even get to see Mark Ruffalo in the new movie, in the fourth movie as well. So, honestly, keep giving me Now You See Me films. They're a comfort movie for me. And while maybe, like I said, they're not the strongest when it comes to the story, I still love the characters, the jokes, the tricks, to the point where I will watch a new Now You See Me every time it comes out because I just love this franchise. So, thank you guys all very much for watching this review. And I want to know if you have seen Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Tell me what you think about the movie in the comments, and maybe we can get a conversation going. Without further ado, thank you guys all very much for watching this video. Hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.